Well, remember, there was a coup, attempted coup of Hugo Chavez, and he turned around and blamed the United States. Now, there was a lot of talk in Washington. Nobody came out and claimed that they were behind it, but they sure didn't hide their satisfaction with that, quickly embracing the new leader, but then was quickly disappointed when Hugo Chavez returned to power. That was really probably the lowest point in this relationship. But of course, under the Bush administration, you saw Mr. Chavez go out of his way to try and poke at George Bush. He would have all of the known enemies of the Bush administration to Venezuela. The Iranian president, obviously, he was very friendly with Fidel Castro, who's been a longtime enemy of the United States in previous administrations. It really was the most heated during George Bush's tenure. As I said, under President Obama, we saw one moment where Hugo Chavez tried to hand him a book. I think it was in Spanish, and I don't think the president reads Spanish. But what you saw then, because people started to ask around the White House, is this a sign? And the president really did dismiss it. He said, I got a book from him. It's no big deal. It's not going to change the relationship all that much. And again, really diminished his power, not just in Venezuela, but in all of Latin America. But for the most part, I can tell you in the United States, Venezuela hasn't really been on the front burner in the last 4 years as it was during the Bush administration. It's truly not talked about all that often, but the relationship, as I mentioned, has continued because of economic mutual dependency. But within the White House, they're going to be very carefully trying to balance that history with what they hope would be possibly a new future. And of course, they will have been on top of this. They will have been looking to see who the possible successors were, possibly reaching out to see, just to get a feel for whether or not they're going to be able to work with whoever takes Chavez's place. But of course, right now, they're also going to be mindful of Chavez's popularity in Venezuela. They don't want to offend the people who will, in fact, be mourning him. So it's a delicate balance that they're going to try and strike in this statement. I can tell you they are working on it. As soon as I get it, I'll let you know what they've had to say.
To interrupt you, we actually do have the official statement from the White House and the spokesperson there, Jay Carney. Let's listen in to what you have to say.
We continue to seek a functional and productive relationship with Venezuela, and we remain open to a dialogue with Venezuela on a range of issues of mutual understanding, including counter-narcotics, counter-terrorism, and the commercial relationship between the two countries, including energy.
So let's go back to Patty Culhane there. Patty, I hope you were able to hear that comment from the White House. What did you make of it?
Well, Barbara, I can tell you I was going to be surprised if you got it before I did. That was Jay Carney briefing the reporters about 4 hours ago in the briefing room. Obviously, that was happening during the first press conference from the vice president in Venezuela. He was asked to respond to the allegations that the U.S. had been tried to sabotage the Venezuelan leader. He didn't really respond to that, but what you heard just there was Jay Carney talking, and that's what I was mentioning before, that they are trying to find a way to discuss what has always been a fairly fiery conversation, but looking toward a future of a more a friendlier relationship. That's why they talked about the areas of mutual cooperation. Obviously, at that time, the announcement of Chavez's death had not yet been made or known. So now we're looking to see a new statement. It's unlikely we'll see Jay Carney come before the podium and the cameras on this. Usually, they just put out a paper statement. I do know that they are working on it, and I know that the White House has been decided to take the lead on this issue. It won't be coming from the State Department. We don't expect that, but they are working on it now. That was, I should stress again, that was Jay Carney speaking before the news of Chavez's death was announced.
Patty Culhane live for us in Washington, D.C. Patty, thank you, and let's just bring the viewers a reminder of that breaking news we've had in the last hour, and that is that Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is dead. Now, the man who rose as an obscure military officer to become the leader of one of Latin America's largest economies lost his 2-year battle to cancer. It was the Venezuelan Vice President Maduro who announced the news about 45 minutes ago.
We have now received the terrible news, which we have to transmit to yourselves. At 4:45 today, on the 5th of March, the Commander President Hugo Chavez has died. After a battle against the hard illness during the course of almost 2 years, with the love of the country and the blessings of the country, and the absolute loyalty of his colleagues in the fight, and the love of all of his family, his mother, his father, Elena, Reyes, his brothers, his children and grandchildren, and the whole country. We transmit our pain and solidarity.
And that was the Venezuelan vice president breaking the news to the country and the world that Hugo Chavez had died. A little later, we started getting more official reaction from Venezuela. The Minister of Defense, Diego Molero, also spoke, and he called for calm in the wake of the news.
We asked for unity from the whole of the nation. The armed forces guarantees the Constitution, the rules and regulations, and starting with us. Here I am accompanied by other people from the armed forces, and we guarantee the sovereignty and security of all of the people in Venezuela.
The Venezuelan Minister of Defense there, Diego Molero, speaking in reaction to the news of Hugo Chavez's death, appealing for calm after the announcement was made. Well, Al Jazeera's Gabriel Elizondo joins us live now from Caracas. Gabriel, we saw some pictures of reaction, people on the streets having heard the news, applauding in respect for Hugo Chavez. Obviously a divisive man, a man who had his detractors in the country, but many followed him deeply and deeply believed in his message. Just remind us why that was.
Well, he rose to power as a man of the people, really, and the reason he had so many millions behind him is that he was really able to mobilize something that very few politicians can ever do, and that's a movement. He was able to really take politics and take it beyond just the simple mechanics of a president and a political party, and really take what he shepherded, really a regional movement that was sort of like reclaiming Latin America. This is how he saw it. This is how his supporters saw it. He really said, this is the moment in Latin America, and Venezuela will be the place where it starts, in the words of Hugo Chavez, for them to reclaim their sovereignty, as he used to always say, from the United States. So this is why he was really able to lead people that really would follow him. And not only that, he lifted people out of poverty, gave new opportunities to hundreds, tens of millions of people in this country. Of course, there's an opposition here, and that's also millions of people strong as well that said it was too much of a power grab that he was involved in. But clearly, I mean, Venezuela is a democracy, and he won these elections, just the last one in 2012, so it is a democracy, and he won fair and square, and he really had this movement behind him. I will say, here in Caracas, this news came around 5:30. It's now a little after 6 p.m. now, so it's rush hour traffic of people trying to get home. I'm looking back on the avenue behind me here in central Caracas, and I can see that there's just gridlock traffic, which is not uncommon here in Caracas. Traffic is very bad, but you can just see that there's a lot of cars just stopped as people are listening to the radio, trying to take all of this in. This is still a country very much in shock, without question. Even though they knew that this could be coming, there are still a lot of people that were just holding out hope that maybe he'll pull through. Maybe he won't die, given he's such a larger-than-life character and a larger-than-life political figure in this country for so long. But clearly, the news with his death has really shocked people as they try to figure out how to move forward.